Okay, good evening, everybody. Glad you could all make it. Welcome to the Nature Sunshine webinar. So I just want to set the scene really, and we look at Thomas Edison's statement here. And he talks about the doctor of the future giving no medicine, but will interest her or his patients in the care of the human frame, in a proper diet, and the cause and prevention of disease. So the reason this is so important and why we put it into context is that the health of our humankind is on the decline. So we can see that here, this is the first time in history of the human species that the life expectancy is declining, which means children of this generation are actually going to be more unwell and sicker and often die younger than their parents, which is quite a scary statistic. Along with that, we can see that childhood obesity is constantly on the rise. We see it's nearly up to 20%. And it's not just children that are suffering this decline in health. Type 2 diabetes is on the increase, and it's affecting over 2.6 million people in the UK, and it's actually costing the NHS millions and millions of pounds just on this one disease alone. Then we've got metabolic syndrome, which is what some of you may not know, but it's the precursor to diabetes, or sometimes called pre-diabetes. The prevalence of this, again, is on the increase. And then heart disease. We all hear about cardiovascular disease and heart disease. Nearly 200,000 deaths per year in the UK, and this is actually rising. And we're starting to hear a lot more about the neurological disorders. So Alzheimer's, dementia, all these things that actually not that many years ago weren't that prevalent, and now on the increase, and more worryingly for us is on the increase in younger people as well. It's actually creating 60,000 deaths per year in the UK, and again another disease that's on the increase. And I'm sure we've all heard, or the statistics tell us, that we all will know someone, or cancer has affected our lives in some way. And in fact, it says here more than 1 in 4 people die from cancer. 30%, or a third of people listening to this now, will get cancer at some point. And again, it's on the increase. And that's 250,000 new cases, and that's in 2007. So it's probably more prevalent today. And then we're not just talking about the decline in health of the nation in terms of death and disease. We're also finding a real increase in things that aren't necessarily life-threatening, like IBS here, but can really play havoc with the quality of life that we have. Other diseases that are on the increase that fall into that category, we're looking at fibromyalgia. That can cause all sorts of problems, and people can actually feel really ill, but it's actually a very preventable lifestyle through lifestyle. And then we've got the obvious one, which is what I do for a living. I run a personal training company, so obesity and overweight is very important to kind of what we do and how we help people. And if you look at the statistics here, 67% of men, 69% of women in the UK are actually overweight or obese, and the statistics tell us that if that carries on at the same rate, by 2030, 86% of this country will be overweight. So that's a very scary statistic. And when we think about America and we think that they're all obese, or a lot of people do, we're actually not that far behind America anymore. We've caught them up really well. So their statistics are in the low 70s. So we've got a real epidemic on our hands in terms of overweight and obesity and the declining health. So it's pretty bad news all round. We can see from that. But it also gives us the opportunity. And there is some good news, because a statistic here from the Lancet shows that just a 2% improvement in the prevention of these chronic diseases would actually avert 36 million deaths over the next few years, with a gain of about 50 million years of life. So just a small improvement in the health and wellness and the quality of someone's life can have a huge difference. And we're starting to see more and more of the medical profession prescribing lifestyle as the new medicine. So lifestyle medicine is the new medicine. The Journal of American Medical Association a couple of years ago The National Institute of Health also prescribe lifestyle as a class 1 intervention. The American Heart Association as well is recommending lifestyle interventions as the first line of defense for all these diseases. So they're starting to tell us what Hippocrates told us a long time ago. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Now, when we say food, it's obviously the nutrients that the food gives us that make a difference. But unfortunately, in this day and age, we can't possibly get all the nutrients from the food that we need. For example, to get the same amount of nutrients as 1 cup of spinach 50 years ago, we'd actually have to eat 7 cups of spinach today. There's been that much decline in the nutrient rich of the food and the soils that we're getting the food from. So the shortfall in the foods is way, even 50 years ago, is way different from it. And plus lifestyle is very different. People are living in a much more fast-paced, stressful lifestyle. We're exposed to far more toxicity. The modern diet, unfortunately, is adding to the problem with convenience and processed foods. They're not actually giving the body what it needs. So the result of that is everything that we've just gone through in terms of the illness and the disease and the lifestyle diseases, most importantly, that we saw before. So that's why we need to supplement. The supplements are essential to gain those nutrients back because of the toxicity, because of the deficiency in diets today, and because when the nutrients that need to talk to our cells to give us the, prevent all the diseases we talked about before. If we think about the pollution today, we can't go anywhere without being in a polluted society. There is poor soil and food quality these days just due to modern farming. 40% of all supermarket foods are GMO, which means genetically modified, and they don't always have to tell us that they're genetically modified either. So we could be eating foods that we think are nutritious for us, but are actually genetically modified. We're gaining a lot of chemicals and pesticides from the farming methods, a lot of bugs and the little flies and things that actually sometimes destroy crops. They won't eat genetically modified food, yet we're quite happy to eat it. And the other thing about modern foods is they're often too weak to replenish what the body needs. So because of when they're harvested, or because of their long shelf lives, or just because of the natural nutrient deficiency within the soil, they actually cannot replenish what our bodies naturally have needed over time. And if we think about that toxicity we spoke about before, there's more and more chemicals that come into our lifestyles. In fact, we have to detoxify up to 500 toxins per day in this day and age, and that was never used to be the case. And there's over 700 chemicals found in our water system. There's over 6,000 chemicals tested every week in the US, and these chemicals are chemicals that are tested to go in and on food to help the farming community. And when we talk about pesticides, they're designed basically to kill bugs, mice and rats, and the pesticides unfortunately also destroy the microorganisms in the soil, which leads to the soil being less nutritious, which means it starts right from the bottom, so therefore the food that's grown in it doesn't give us the nutrients we need. And then if we think about the cocktail effect of all those pesticides, here's just some examples of the amount of pesticides, different types of pesticides that have been found in some of these fruits here. And this cocktail effect really can cause serious health problems because the body isn't designed to deal with this toxicity. And just as a side point there, when it says some pesticides can be stored in our fat tissues for years, this is often a reason why people struggle to lose weight, because the body doesn't want to release these toxins into the body. And this was something that we pulled recently from the Olympics. When the Olympians came to London a couple of months ago, they were actually warned about the city's smog levels. So they were warned about how they may become toxic. So the government, and obviously this is taken from the Guardian, were actually told other people from around the world that were coming to London to worry, yet they're quite happy for us to go along in our daily lives getting this pollution into our bodies, which is quite interesting, isn't it? So with all this toxicity coming in, and the modern lives that we talk about, these toxins are actually poisons that can cause danger and damage to the cells of our body. So they're responsible for a really high percentage of all disease. And the liver and kidneys are not designed to deal with all these extra pesticides, air pollution, heavy metals, additives. And when we say drugs there, we mean, prescription drugs that we often get from the doctor. The body really, really struggles to detoxify all these through the liver and through the kidneys, which again relates back to where people store these toxins if the liver and kidneys can't deal with them, is we send them to the safest place in our body, which is the fat cells, which again is why people struggle to lose weight, because the body doesn't want to release these toxins into the blood because it can make them feel rubbish until we excrete them. So toxicity is bad, and we've spoke about deficiency also. So not only are we in a toxic environment and the body's just struggling to get the nutrients to deal with it, and it's because there's 72% here, the study, this was back in the late 90s, the study showed us that 72% less minerals in the soil. The processed foods and the snacks, unfortunately, are nutritionless in some case. A lot of the time we overcook food, so if we hold a food for 48 degrees for a certain period of time, it actually denatures the enzymes within it, so that affects the absorption capacity, the digestive capacity. And an interesting statistic I read recently was that when we buy food, it can actually have been in cold storage for a huge amount of time. So as soon as a food is picked or harvested, it starts losing nutritional density there and then. Yet a supermarket could hold an apple in cold storage for up to 9 months before it gets put on the shelf for us to then eat. So all that time it's consistently losing its nutrient density. So when we finally get to eat it, there's nowhere near enough of the nutrients that we originally wanted from it to aid with this toxicity we just spoke about. So it's quite necessary that we need the supplementation. And this just shows an American study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Again, quite an old study, but it's actually fairly spectacular in the results that it shows. That we can see that a 42% reduction from death of any cause was created by just supplementing senior citizens with 2 vitamins. So if we can have that impact by just supplementing with 2 vitamins, think what we can do if we supplement with all the vitamins and minerals necessary for our bodies. But caveat to that is that not all supplements are actually created equally, because we all know that we can go to large supermarkets, the Holland & Barretts, the Boots of this world, and we've got row after row of supplements. But unfortunately, 90% of supplement companies don't actually make their own products. They're often generic in their type, so there'll be loads of different companies that buy from the same manufacturer and just put a label on it to sell it. And often these companies are only interested in making profit, so they use different parts of the plant that are less potent and don't have the effects that we need. Because they're cheap, they often make the supplements through synthetic use as opposed to natural, use the wrong part of the plant, and it's all to make money. So unfortunately we could end up going and buying a load of supplements from the shops, but it wouldn't actually be doing the jobs we think it was doing. And it's actually a very unregulated industry as well. They've just changed some legislation, but again it's still open to wide misuse from a profit-making point of view, which is why we use Nature's Sunshine. So Graham and I run a personal training company, and we actually spent a couple of years researching the best supplement company for us to use with our personal training clients that fitted in with the ethics and the morals and the values that we want in terms of helping people change their health and wellness. And we came across Nature's Sunshine, and it's by far and away the best company for supplements that we could use. They've been going a long time. They have the largest range of vitamin and herbal supplements. They actually have a dedicated team specifically for their company of research and development scientists. They make their own. They the one thing that was really important for Graham and I from a client perspective was that all their supplements are made to a pharmaceutical grade. There's not many supplement companies in the world that could pass the pharmaceutical grade standard of supplements, but Nature's Sunshine does, which is a major factor for us. And it's a public listed company. It's not going anywhere. It's got stocks and shares are constantly rising, so it's a really kind of safe company to work for from the business point of view as well. So from our point of view, organic, well-crafted ingredients, so no synthetic, no generic substances, it's all organic. Over 600 tests are done on every single lot of raw material. Now, for those of you that may not be too familiar with the supplement side of things, no other company in the world will do that many tests on every lot of supplements. I was lucky enough to go over to the manufacturing plant in June, and they are meticulous in their tests. They've done every single batch, and when we say that, no other supplement company, not even pharmaceutical companies, have that many tests to make sure that the ingredients are pure. The GMP and GL are certified. That's to prove that it's a pharmaceutical grade. And then obviously we started out from the point of view of helping our clients get better results, improving their health, improving their fat loss results, before we even knew that there was a business model for it. And once we found out that there's a business model and we could earn a secondary income for it, it became an even better proposition. Plus, one of the amazing things that you'll find out tonight when Grace starts talking is that they offer a free training and support throughout your whole business. So it's a really, there's not many companies where the people that are selling the same thing as you will actually help you give you free training and support. So I'll just take you through some of the main supplements that you use just to give you an idea. And one of the best things that we've used with clients and with ourselves is the Healthy Starter Kit, which is the bowels, the kidneys and bloods, a real cleanse. What people often find on this is they'll actually start to lose a lot of body fat in those first 10 days. They'll lose a lot of weight because what I spoke about before, toxins get released that the body wasn't previously releasing because it was held in a fat cell. So they get released, so those fat cells can then be burnt and they start to lose a lot of weight. And that's a real good starter point for most people when it comes to supplement. And that leads us to the kind of daily nutritional products that Nature's Sunshine offer and what we recommend to improve our lifestyles on a day-to-day basis. So the first one, and I guess the most important one, would be what they call super supplemental, which is a multivitamin. Now, we say this is one of the best multivitamins we've come across because they actually use the organic natural herbs and cruciferous vegetables that have got the highest level of nutrients for us. And the way we say this about super supplemental is that it's life insurance for your internal body. It covers all your bases, allows all your systems to start working optimally, and like we say, one of the best things about it is not synthetic and it's from as nature intended. The next thing we've got is fish oil. Now, I could be here all night talking about the benefits of fish oil. It's got multiple benefits in terms of brain function, in terms of energy levels. It actually has the ability to switch on or off the fat burning genes that we've got. And one of the main benefits to fish oil is it actually controls inflammation. So all the lifestyle diseases we talked about before often come from a low-lying level of inflammation in the body. So we can see that a low-lying level of inflammation can cause cancers, cardiovascular disease, all those that are coming off there. And one of the main benefits of fish oil, it reduces the underlying cause of many of those diseases. So from our point of view, in our personal training business, the #1 supplement that we believe every single person would benefit from is fish oil. Not to mention the fat-burning effects of an increased amount of fish oil you can get as well. Then the next one of the the main things we sell as well through Nature's Sunshine is the Zambrosa. And this, again, has got multiple benefits. This is an antioxidant drink. One, it tastes nice, so compliance is always good. And what Zambrosa does, it helps here oxidation. So we all know what happens to an apple when we leave it after we've taken a bite, or we leave something out that's metal and it goes rusty. That oxidation happens within our bodies, and it produces something called free radicals. These free radicals are like rust in our system, and they can cause that low-lying level of inflammation. They can cause damage to the cells, and what we need to mop up these damaging free radicals is antioxidants. And most people are low in antioxidants, so we always supplement with an antioxidant-rich product like Zambrosa to help get rid of these free radicals and prevent that oxidation in our bodies, because we don't want our bodies to rust, or our clients' bodies to rust from the inside out. And there's just some of the benefits we spoke about before, the multiple benefits of Zambrosa. Have a read through those. So the free radical damage we was talking about before, the inflammation. One of the good things about Zambrosa as well, from an exercise and sports point of view, that if you increase the amount of Zambrosa or antioxidants you take post-workout, or if you've played sport, it can actually help with the muscle soreness the next day. So it allows recovery of the muscles, it allows to be stronger, train again. And one of the main things from when we speak to a lot of women is the anti-aging benefits of that, because aging is just oxidization, which we spoke about before, the rust. If we stop those free radicals aging or rusting us, it obviously gives those anti-aging benefits, which is a huge impact for most people's lives. And then a greens drink. So this is liquid chlorophyll. Again, one of the main supplements that we use with our clients and ourselves and our families, and this is a real cleansing properties. It's really important to have a blood pH balancing drink. So our bodies is constantly in a state of either acid or alkaline, and because of the kind of acidic diets, the modern diet that we have, the processed foods, the drinks that we have, and even if we're eating quite a high protein diet, which we would recommend, that all creates an acidic state for our body. An acidic state is a fat storing state. It's a state where ill health can start to generate, and we can start to get those free radicals again. So what we would do is we want to balance that out by having an alkaline drink, and this is exactly what liquid chlorophyll does. It increases the oxygen binding to the blood, so it's a really good blood cleanser. As a natural antioxidant again, but the main benefit of this is just pop it in your water. It tastes like mint, so it's nice as well, so it actually helps with compliance of people drinking water, but the main benefit is to realkaline our bodies. So I hope that gives you a little bit more of an insight into the necessary need for supplementation, and also just introduced you to some of the main kind of benefits of the Nature's Sunshine supplements that we've got.